And good morning, everyone. I hope you all have had a good weekend. Mine was all right. Pretty cold and a little snowy here in Ohio right now. Um, but today's video, I'm going to talk about Eorindel. When it comes to the name, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Eorendil. I still have trouble with some of Tolkien's names, but for the most part, I think I got it right. Because I've read Lord of the Rings so many times, and the Silmarillion several times, and all this other stuff a few times. So I am pretty well acquainted with it. But this is just about the origins of that character, which go back, well, for Tolkien, they go back to about 1913, when he started studying Anglo-Saxon. And he got this from an Old English poem called Christ, without the H, or it could be pronounced Christ. I'm not 100% sure. I always call it Christ. That's just how I like to say it. But again, it's about Jesus, obviously. And there was a line in this poem called, if I can remember what in Old English, it's I believe it's Eala Earendil Ingla Beotast over Middenjerd Monum Sended, which means in our language, Hail, Earendil, brightest of stars, or angels, over Middle Earth, sent unto men. Now, when Tolkien read this, he was intrigued by it, and wanted to know who Earendil was, which a lot of people had interpreted that as being about Jesus. Which, as we know, Jesus was sent to us to save us. Of course, you hear in the Old Testament the angel of God, and you're thinking God, which is also Jesus, because that's who that is. But Tolkien actually disagreed with this and thought that he was actually talking about John the Baptist, who heralded the coming of Christ, just like the evening/morning star would presage the dawn or dusk. Now, and so Earendil is kind of the planet Venus because it is the evening and morning star. And Venus, the goddess that it is named after, is the same goddess in so many other cultures with different names. Names like Easter, Aphrodite, Astarte, Asherah, Ishtar, which the star was, I think in the morning it was male, evenings female, or maybe vice versa. I can't really remember. But, of course, Tolkien decided to take the name Earendil and create a character with it, and he in turn became a man who was a mariner. And he wrote a story about well, he started out writing poetry about this character, and then he wrote a story about a man named Eorl, who was a descendant of Earendil, who came to the Lonely Island, saw the elves. They told him their history. He wrote it down. Of course, from this would come the Book of Lost Tales, which we would know would become the Silmarillion. But of course, at this point, Earendil didn't have his two sons, Elrond and Elros, who would come in later. And I believe Elrond was probably created, I think, around 1930 in the Quintanil Dorinwa. I think along with his brother Elros. Or maybe Elrond might have been a little earlier. Not 100% sure when that came in. I do not think it's in the sketch mythology. But anyway, Earendil, again, he was going to write a story about him, and the story never got written, although there was tons of outlines. And you can read about this in the Book of Lost Tales, parts 1 and 2. Part 2, of course, has all the material for Earendil, his story, but Ariel's story, of course, starts off the Book of Lost Tales. And so all these stories he was writing, like The Fall of Gondolin, Tale of Tenuviel, Tarambar, all became part of this book, and so you have there technically the first Silmarillion. And of course, he would change the spelling of Arundel's name, and he would, of course, be half man, half elf. But the first story he actually appears in as a character is The Fall of Gondolin. So this is basically Tolkien's oldest character in his mythology. Now, another name that he got from this poem, which is found a lot in Anglo-Saxon and in Norse, where it's called Midgard, but in Anglo-Saxon it's Midden-Yeard, and which means Middle Earth. Now that name he did not use until much later, not until the 1930s that he actually started using that. Prior to that, it was the Great Lands, and then you had the Outer Lands, and so it was much, much different. But that is basically, yeah, all that he wrote about Earendil. Fascinating character, for sure. And it's kind of sad that he never wrote that story. And there's another story in the Book of Lost Tales that's also unwritten, and so it basically lacks a middle and an end. Of course, he ended up, as we know, abandoning that for the Silmarillion. But anyway, that's pretty much it, and so I should be back tomorrow with another video, hopefully. If you enjoy this one, please like it. Check out the rest of the content on this channel. Subscribe. And, yeah, I will talk to you all later. Hope you all enjoy what is left of your day. I know I probably won't, because I gotta kind of go to bed, because I gotta work early tonight. It sucks. Anyway, take care.